Hello, hello, testing, can you hear me? Is everybody here? This is a podcast made by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. I'm your host, Angie Keegan. Each episode, we are going to be bringing you content that matters to us, the disability community of Caboolture and the surrounding areas. We'll be talking to guests here and getting out into the community where we want you to tell us about what you want to hear about. Subscribe, like, and follow us on all the social media platforms and tell your mates. Welcome. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet. For us here, we are on Gubbi Gubbi country, the lands of the Kabi Kabi people. We pay our respects to the elders past and present, and we also acknowledge that at this time of the recording, it's NAIDOC week, and we celebrate with the First Nations peoples 50 years of being deadly. We also acknowledge disabled people who have come before us and died in institutional settings. We acknowledge the pain and the suffering that disability people endured and the bravery and the hope for a better life and future that drove them to step up and share their stories again and again to the Disability Royal Commission into violence, abuse, neglect and exploitation, as well as the NDIS review. We acknowledge that at this time of the recording, this is a time of great anxiety, stress and turmoil for the disability community. But this is July, Disability Pride Month, and we welcome to our show member for the federal seat of Dickson, Ailey France.
Thank you.
Who is also a person with disabilities, a feminist, a journalist, producer, mum, athlete, and historically was the first person to unseat a sitting or an incumbent opposition leader. So welcome to our show, Ailey France.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
Oh, thank you. We're thrilled to have you here. We've been trying to organise this for a little while. But,
I'm so sorry. My life has just become chaotic.
You mean you're a representative in federal parliament?
Yes. But I was always going to get here, and I'm glad to be here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ailey. Ailey. Sorry, my bad. Now, Ailey, I'll jump into some questions because obviously your time is very precious and we appreciate it. I've asked people around our community to share with me what they'd like to ask you. So I've just got a bunch of questions.
Wonderful.
Okay. So the first one, of course, is winning Dickson, third time's the charm.
I know. It came as quite a shock to me on election night because I'd always been told that Dickson would not be winnable until Peter Dutton had left the seat.
Yep.
And I just said a big nah to that. But I still was quite shook on election night because I knew we were close, but I thought there'd be days and days of counting. So I was incredibly surprised and grateful that the community, after campaigning and listening to people in the community for 7-8 years, that they finally said, we're going to give her a go.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for that.
For sure. I have friends that live in your electorate and they have just been hoping and praying for a very long time for, the previous person to go. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so disability advocacy and representation matters, obviously. I've got my T-shirt on here that says nothing about us without us. In preparation for this podcast, I did a whole bunch of research and I think I've watched almost every interview you've ever done and a whole bunch of other things. Anyway, I know that you're very passionate about disability advocacy.
Yes.
And I know that you really wanted to bring that perspective, disability perspective to Canberra.
Yes.
To the House.
Yes.
Because I think you've mentioned in previous interviews that you felt that was a perspective that was lacking.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you're bringing that perspective?
I think that in every conversation I have, I think that whether we are talking about education, health, aged care, whether we're talking about the environment, I think that people with a disability always, they're forced to have a different lens on everything, every part of public policy. And obviously, the NDIS is in our, that greatly impacts us, but every other policy area impacts people with a disability. And I think, every conversation I have when we're talking about changes to, education, health, anything, it is through a lens of my experience of having a disability, living with a disability, and having to navigate systems over the last 15 years before the NDIS existed.
Yeah.
It's an experience that, because I know in 2011 I lost my leg in a traumatic car accident, but I really had zero idea of what life was like for people with a disability before that experience. It's a very naive view of the world, very privileged view of the world. And I still see myself as privileged as a disabled person, but I think it was a real shock. And you can't really have that perspective without going through it.
Yeah.
And that's why you have that T-shirt, "Nothing about us without us."
Exactly.
Because it's very hard to, and no matter how hard you try and listen and empathise, it's very hard to weave that experience into public policy without somebody being there at the table and talking about the real world impacts. So, I'm many things. I'm a mum. I am I love my work. My work defines me too. There's so much that defines me, and I bring all of those things to the Parliament, as does every member of Parliament brings their own experience. But I guess the thing that's quite different to every other person in the House of Representatives is that experience of disability and recovery and trauma and ongoing pain, trauma, and navigating the world around it. So, I do very much into my committee work, into the work that I do in my community. I'm very much, it is a passion of mine to be representative. So I try to do that every day that I'm in this job.
Absolutely. And haven't you just come in at a very tricky time for the disability community? Absolutely. For sure. And I suppose, there's so many things you have to navigate there. And part of what you were saying, being a person with an acquired disability, in particular, like I'm a person with a disability that I was just born with. So I don't have that experience of like life before, life after. So you have that kind of grief and all that kind of stuff to go with it. And you're right. I think it's something that you can't know unless you live it. But you can definitely always listen, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And I think, just you touched briefly on NDIS. I think people's perspectives, like maybe they don't understand the gravity of what's going on, and maybe they just need to sit with the reality that actually the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, is there for every Australian.
Absolutely.
So if we ever needed it, if you ever needed it and you didn't need it before, you'd want it to be there.
Yes, it's just like Medicare.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So, for sure. And you touched on just briefly how you acquired your disability, and I'm not going to ask you to retell that because you've done that, a lot. And
It's okay.
a lot of, when I was watching all of the interviews and listening, and I thought, wow, you're being asked to relive that trauma again and again and again. And I think for people who don't have disability experience, they may not understand the emotional toll of that. And I'm really interested to know how you manage that.
Well, it is exhausting, but I had, after the accident, very years of intensive psychology and psychiatrist appointment. I had terrible post-traumatic stress disorder. And it took me a long, long while to be able to openly discuss everything that had happened to me. So I wouldn't say that, I had got to a place by the time I decided to get involved in politics where I felt okay talking about it, but it took years, a very, very long time. And I think that one of the reasons I got to the place of wanting to talk about it is that I wanted people to see me as somebody with a disability being involved in politics, but also being open about my mental health struggles and my disability. I wanted people to see that disability is strong, it is smart, it is hardworking, and despite past traumas, and I think this is really important in politics, that quite often candidates in the past for various political parties, it doesn't matter which side you're on, if you'd had a history of mental health issues, there's no way you'd get chosen or you would run or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think that it was important, and it still is important, to tell people that I went through a really traumatic experience. I struggled for years and years, many surgeries. And I changed completely as a person, but I did come out the other side.
Yeah.
And I am still strong and worthy, and I love my work.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time, and everybody in the disability community knows that, people just make the assumption that you're weak and that you are damaged. I saw that so much when I was trying to get back into the workforce. It was awful. Weak, damaged, will always be sick.
Yeah.
There are the wildest assumptions about people with a disability. And so I do lean into my story now as an example, but just one. But there are so many out there. We're much stronger than the average person.
Yep.
And people need to know that. And we have so much to give, but I think I needed to challenge those, the bias and those assumptions which have just been around forever. And they will continue to be around, but I very much felt I needed to wear my survival and my efforts to get through this incredible trauma as a badge of honour and say, actually, and I'm okay with this. And yes, I've really struggled, but I'm doing everything I can now to give back to my community, and I that's why I started. It is always hard to talk about your story, and I actually think you need to be in the right headspace.
Absolutely.
I couldn't speak of it for years.
Yep.
And you need to have gone through that process. So I'm not saying it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But it was a driving force towards me getting involved in politics.
Awesome. Like that sign on it's a picture on your wall that says, "Don't get mad, get elected."
Yes.
I love that.
It is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, because that was something that really struck me, and I thought people just ask as a very off the cuff sort of thing, even if you're like waiting in the queue at a checkout. I mean, I get asked all the time, "What happened to you?" And you think, wow, if you're not in the headspace or you haven't been through it, like that can absolutely kill you.
Yes, and it did in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was really, I had somebody after my accident, one of the first times I went out to dinner, it took like a very long time for me because I had a very bad crush injury for it to heal, for my tissues to heal. So I was out to dinner and I spent a long time in my chair, which I love my chair, but I spent a long time in those first years. I went out to dinner and a lady said to me, and it was one of my first outings, and I had terrible post-traumatic stress disorder. I really feared getting out of the house. And the lady said to me, "Oh, you have such a pretty face. What a pity you're in a wheelchair." Mm. It crushed me. Mm-hmm. I mean, crushed me.
Yep.
And, of course, today my wheelchair is it gets me everywhere. I love it.
Yep.
But back then it made me want to retreat and go back into my house, and it was cruel.
Yeah, 100%, completely without any purpose or need to be like that. No, I've had comments similar, just yes. If only people would think. And I think that's the importance of seeing people with disability out and about, right? Mm-hmm. In the community, out doing their thing, because, then people see that actually disability is normal. It's actually part of the life experience. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so this is a Janine question. Wait for it. Okay.
All right.
Janine is, for those listening along at home, she's a mate of both of ours.
Yes.
Yes. Many people with a disability, not just in Dickson, not just in Moreton Bay or even Queensland, but Australia-wide, look to you as an inspiration, a poster girl for disability. How does that responsibility sit with you, Ailey?
I don't see myself that way, but I'm okay if people think to themselves, I'd like to get involved in politics because she did.
Yeah.
I think there's a massive, in all political parties, we need more people with a disability involved in politics.
Yeah.
Politics is a hard place to be, and there are huge barriers for people getting involved. Janine and I were instrumental in starting up Labour Enabled in Queensland.
Yes.
It was the first state to do so, and now we have Labour Enabled in most states in the country. So thank you, Janine. And I hope that people not necessarily look at me as an inspiration, but look and think she cracked into politics. She cracked into politics after, a hard journey. And if she can do it, I think I should give it a go. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether you want to be. I never saw myself as an MP at all. But what I wanted to do was, once I got involved with Labour Enabled, I was like, it became clear really early on that, to have a really meaningful impact, people with the disability needed to not just be seen as contributing to policy, but actually to be candidates, to be MPs, to drive, to be at the actual table. So I kind of thought to myself, well, we've got to get some people to be candidates or to put their hands up to be a candidate.
Yeah.
And and whilst I was looking around at who might do it, it's a really hard thing to do. I just thought, well, I think I'm going to have to do this. Like, just put my hand up and say, okay, well, I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah.
Not thinking that I'd ever end up being an actual MP, but just to demonstrate what is possible.
Absolutely. And they do say sometimes ignorance is bliss, but your dad's a state MP or was.
He was. And I think my grandmother actually was a driving force in our family just for political awareness. She was a campaigner, very involved in the Catholic Church, very involved in social justice issues. She passed that down to my dad. My dad was always with my grandmother and my dad, I spent most of my childhood letterboxing on polling booths. So it wasn't foreign to me.
No.
Mind you, my pathway was different. I went into journalism and I didn't join the Labor Party until 2016. So I wasn't part of that inner organisation. I worked overseas in Hong Kong and London, and I did lots of different things. Yeah. But I did have that backdrop of social justice activism. My grandmother was never a member of the Labor Party either, but she was involved in every campaigning on lots of different issues, fighting for working people and for social justice, particularly around Medicare and Medibank back then, because two of my uncles were very, very sick. They had so I think I was raised in a family that was talked politics.
Yeah. Yeah, but you knew what you were getting into to a certain degree.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'd seen my dad, lose. He won the fourth time.
Yeah, right.
As an MP.
Yeah.
And I'd seen him just go back again and again because the things that he cared about for his community most were really important. It was important to just fight on and fight for those things.
Absolutely.
So I had a real demonstration of perseverance in politics in him.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, sorry.
I digressed.
No, that's okay. But I know we've only got you for a limited amount of time, so I'm just going to zip
fine.
through. But that's cool. Okay, random. How accessible is Parliament House? Because I know Jordan Steele-Johns has very limited access to, where he needs to go.
Yeah, so
how's yours?
So the Senate side was done, the big doors, the very heavy doors.
Yeah. They
were done up when Jordan entered the Senate, but the House of Reps side was not done.
Oh, gosh.
So, it's... Well, for a start, for wheelchair users, my wheelchair that I had for 13 years is not electric. It's manual. And of course, the carpet is so deep; it's carpeted everywhere. You cannot use a wheelchair on that carpet. It's deep carpet, and so I had to get an electric chair. My office has been. They've modified the bathroom for me, which is great.
Yep.
I now have a door which is wheelchair accessible, but there's still a long way to go. All of the doors are not accessible. The big, they're not automatic doors. The doors to the house are not automatic. I have to get someone to open them for me. But they are. It's in the works. So me being there, and also Tracy Roberts, she's also has a significant disability which she acquired she just before the election campaign. So we're both in wheelchairs together in the house.
Okay.
And she's so there's 2 Labor MPs who require so it's being done, but not very accessible is the answer.
The thing is, though, it's not a particularly old building, so it just seems very wrong. Anyway.
I don't think they anticipated disabled people as MPs. I just don't think it was something that they ever thought would happen, and thank goodness we've smashed that.
Oh, thank goodness indeed. I think, where we've come in disability advocacy in such a short time, and I think NDIS has been really pivotal to that.
Yes, absolutely.
Helping people to, gain employment, build their careers.
Yes.
Literally get into the places of power.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so this is another question for you about what's your role on the daily in your electorate? So when you're not in Canberra, when you're just back home in the office, what does your day entail?
My day entails mostly listening to constituents but also supporting our local community groups, schools, health organisations. But I very much see my role as going to places where people are so that they can feed back to me about the things that they think are really important for our community. So I hold lots of mobile offices. I hold lots of street stalls. I'm going to all 3 local shows here with stalls. I really believe that most people don't have the time or ability to get to an MP's office.
Yeah.
And so I like to go to them. And you'll see me in lots of coffee shops. I like to go where people are so that they can give me their views in an accessible way.
That's awesome. Can I ask you just a little follow-on question? Because I've talked to various representatives in our area, and people are coming up with, well, our MPs are coming up with a little bit of a jam where our local council isn't actually allowing MPs to set up a booth at community events. Have you sort of struck that?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I think
maybe they've changed it.
maybe.
Hopefully.
No, they've always been pretty welcoming of me. I think that, but you know, I'm going to be at all of the shows. I'm going to be this weekend at the Sanford Show. I'm going to be at the Pine Rivers Show with my tent. I go to the Petrie markets all the time. I go to the markets up at I go to lots of markets actually. But also I try to hold mobile offices and coffee shops right across the electorate and advertise them. I think I mean, I think I put a real focus on making sure that people feel that I am accessible to them as their local MP.
Absolutely.
I hope they feel that.
Yeah. Well, you're here today at our community podcast, so thank you. No, it's very true. And I think for a lot of people that maybe don't understand quite how it all works or you know, they've got something going on in their lives and they want to tell someone about it. It can seem super intimidating to go and, you know, go and talk to your local MP. You know,
I think that's right.
And I think people expect that it'll be a closed door. Or there'll be like lots of gatekeeping and, you know, difficult things to get through. And if you're already stressed, you're already in crisis, you don't need that. So I think people don't want to approach that. So if you come to them, I think that's perfect.
We spend a lot of time, the office spends a lot of time helping people with any issues they're having with social services, DSP, you know, anything to do with the NDIS. We help people with veterans, with any issues they're having with Veterans Affairs, or really just a lot of people who find it difficult to navigate the system. We're helping people every day. So if anybody feels that they need help with a government service, we can't necessarily fix it for you, but we can support you in getting to the right person, asking the right questions. And we've had a lot of success actually from that. So
fantastic.
Yeah, people should know that you know, we can support you if you're really struggling with navigating, you know, government services. That's
fantastic.
That's what we are there for.
Yep. We'll put your office details in the show notes so that everyone can come along. Excellent. That's wonderful. And okay. So next question. Joining the Outboard Rigger Disabled Group was a pivotal turning point in your life. How did it shape or change your outlook to being a person with disabilities?
It was fabulous. It changed everything. I got Shona Muckett, who's on the sunny coast. She's a bilateral amputee. I met her in hospital and in Sydney, and she said to me, "Why don't you come and try paddling with me?" And I was like, I'd hated water sports my entire life. But I went, I'll give it a go. It was like, you know, being set free, really. I was suddenly out on the ocean, you know, amongst the waves. You know, people had confidence, weren't second-guessing me about my disability and whether I'd cope. And I was suddenly surrounded by a heap of other people with significant disabilities who were just going about their lives, working, raising families, doing all the things, and it opened my eyes to the possibility of what my life could look like.
Yeah.
And
really
prior to
important.
that, I'd really been surrounded by very well-meaning, supportive, able-bodied people who were probably mollycoddled me too much, and also, you know, and I was probably, it was in the early days, and I didn't see a pathway. It's really hard, actually. And that outrigger canoeing just changed everything for me. And it wasn't, you know, it was great to be out there getting my heart moving and to be doing something that really was, really made me feel alive. But really it was about that support from other people with a disability and just being around people and talking through similar issues and having a little community around me. It changed everything. It made me more confident. I gained so much confidence as a result of getting involved in that sport. It was such a confidence builder, and really showed me that there was just so much out there for me.
Yeah.
It really changed my world. I don't think I would have ended up in politics or as an MP had I not gone through that experience. It gave me a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. And I know that you've referred to in the past, you know, the importance of sport and activity and, you know, social stuff.
Yeah.
For, you know, creating to help alleviate like anxiety, depression, loneliness, all of those things. Yeah, for sure. Definitely important. Okay. So I know people are going to be listening to this, and because we've got the bill on the table at the moment, you know, and we're talking about potentially losing a good deal of our social and community services access funding. You know, it just seems like I know I get so much from being out in the community, like literally. This podcast and everything that we do with that is wrapped up in all of those things. How does that sit with you?
So I wouldn't describe it exactly as you've described it. I don't think there's going to be people will still have, I think, reasonable amounts of community support and reasonable amounts of community access support. I think what we've seen with the NDIS, it's really distorted the markets in many areas. And what I've seen just in the Moreton Bay region, but right across Australia, some of our community organisations riding with the disabled, you know, there's others that provide community support and activities that are all going broke. And a lot of it, some of it, is there's been a real distortion in the market in the sense that, and I don't think this is happening, you know, I don't think this is happening in every community, but I think it's happening on such a wide scale across Australia in the sense that much of the funding has gone to individualised support workers to take you places and less funding into would you like to go to Riding for the Disabled or a group-based activity or a sporting group, parasport, like all of those things. A lot of those organisations are really, really struggling, very much so.
Okay.
So I think I hope we're still going through the process, and I think, you know, we're in the design phase at the moment. So that's where and we're in this review phase. So, you know, things aren't set in stone as yet. So I would hope that there'll be funding into those types of organisations.
Okay. Yeah, like for people like me, I don't think I'd want to go into something that was all for disabilities. Like I like to be just out amongst it. And I guess, you know, it's about
Which is fair.
Yeah, choice and control.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, having the life that you want to have on an equal basis, you know, all that stuff. Absolutely. Because, you know, there's also that argument of, is that segregation, you know, all that stuff. But as you say, design.
I think that, you know, there's obviously I got a lot out of my disabled sport.
Yeah,
you know, there's,
absolutely.
You know, these organisations are part of bigger organisations as well. Like our outrigging was, it was, you know, for able-bodied people and for disabled people, but there was a certain, you know, there's a group of us that trained together and did things together.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've had feedback from many, many groups in which participants would like to be more involved in these groups, but it depends on their planner and it depends on their, you know, their local circumstances where sometimes they haven't been given those opportunities. And I think we still need to have opportunities for people to, like, be involved in Writing for the Disabled is a really good example. It's a confidence builder. It's a grassroots organisation. I mean, I did Writing for the Disabled for a couple of years myself. It's good for mental health.
Yeah,
it's with and you know, I think that we can't let some of those amazing organisations. People still need to have the choice to do those sorts of things and be able to participate in sport and confidence building stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's the same with art and, you know, music and, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, but those choices are going, they're being, because of the distortion in the market, they're not being funded under our plans, really.
Yeah.
That's what's happened.
Yeah. I think, you know, what you're saying there is that people really need to have the choice and to have the available services for whatever it is that they want to be able to do.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, like anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
For sure. Okay, that's great. Okay, next question. Sorry. How important has it been for you to get back into the workforce? And I'm really interested in this response because for me, I had to leave my previous career as a teacher, a disability teacher. And I had so much of my self-concept was wrapped up in, you know, my, you know, what I did for a living. And then to leave that. Same. Yeah. And then to have to rebuild everything and go, well, who am I now? You know, because my disability is degenerative. You know, that's hard. And that's a real burden of, like, you know, that mental health component that we've talked about. Yeah. Yeah. So could you tell us a bit about your journey through that? It was really, really hard. For the first 4 years, I wasn't able to work. I was having surgeries constantly, and I was in a very difficult, awful place. And part of that was also I was not used to not working, and I'm a very bad patient. I hate being in bed. It's terrible. Yeah. But the idea that I had always been self-sufficient, I'd always defined myself around my work and my ability to work, and I drew a lot of my confidence and my worth as a person, the value from what I did at work. I really surrounded myself. My whole identity was built around work. So to have that just gone was absolutely devastating. Like, it was just beyond. And, you know, I really struggled for a long time to know where I should be, what I should do without work. Like, it was. So I think it took me a while to get into my head that, you know, to change my mind that I could work and that I could contribute to society, and I could work was possible for me again after being through so much.
And I did find it really difficult in the workplace. I think, lots of assumptions, lots of bias, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one thing that becoming an MP, it's one thing I'm so passionate about. I feel really angry that people with a disability have been really denied the right to prosper for a very long time.
100%.
And, like every person with a disability that I know wants to earn money and prosper and contribute.
Yep.
And I think that these kind of assumptions that have been around forever and, they're really damaging to the whole society. Like they're damaging to our communities. Every person that I've ever worked with who has a disability, it seems like we have to work so much harder to prove that we have to work so much harder than an able-bodied person to prove that we are worthwhile and that we have a right to be in the job and that we, it really is a burden that we shouldn't have to bear. And if there's one thing I can do in my life as an MP, and, I don't know how long that will be, it will be to change people's opinions on people with a disability and their ability to work. And we should always have the right to prosper.
Absolutely.
And it's just it's such a fundamental, it keeps with this bias, it just keeps people with a disability in poverty, in housing stress, it is so fundamentally unfair. I really struggled, and I feel like I have, even as an MP, I was in a seat that no one thought I would ever win. I've had to run 3 times. I've had to over and over demonstrate that I'm capable, and at times to the detriment of my own health.
Yep.
And I feel like that is reflected in any person with a disability who's in a job that they want to do and they love. They are working 25, 30, 40% harder than the person next to them just to prove that they should be there and they're worthwhile.
Oh, 100%.
And that is completely unfair.
Yep. Ableism is everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. It's ableism.
Yeah.
For sure. And that perception that we in the workplace wouldn't be doing as quality a job as the next person, which is ridiculous.
Or you're going to be sicker, or you're going to be and in every person with a disability's head, because it was in my head, I need to take a sick day, but if I take a sick day, they'll think it's because of my disability, and should I have this day off? And no, I'll just go in sick, and even though I need to rest my body, blah, blah, blah. I mean, no able-bodied person thinks I shouldn't use my sick leave when I'm truly sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's really true. And I guess the other thing too, I think people in the disability community also struggle with. I mean, not everybody can work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And our worth shouldn't be tied to our ability to, economically contribute or whatever.
And, I didn't work for those 4 or 5 years to begin with, it was just because my identity has always in my whole life been surrounded around work.
Yeah.
I don't think, that's not everybody's identity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not, it was important for me, but but yes, you're absolutely right. But there's so many other avenues in which people with a disability who can't work can give and be active members of our community. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
look what we're doing today.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely right.
Yep.
And it's I see it every day.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I've said this before on other episodes, like, you know, that comment of Joe Hockey's of lifters and leaners? I think that perception of, you know, has dogged us in Australia and probably more broadly. But, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could actually just see everybody's value inherently for what it is, you know, our humanity, you know, that we all have a right to be here. We all have a right to live as we want to in our own spaces, on our own terms.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. I'm really enjoying this chat.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Good.
Okay. So, right. Oh, sorry. Oh, the terrible bill. Yeah. So let's talk about potential implications.
Yeah.
I'm in amongst, you know, I think most of us that are trying to sort of keep abreast of everything that's happening, we're being inundated and the media is not great.
No.
And it's quite terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing things like with the proposed bill that Section 34A is making us all kind of cringe, and that's the ministerial powers that allow big, you know, wide sweeping powers to just take out up to 99.99% out of any funding category in the bill. Like, I don't want to get into all the minutiae of it because it's a massive, massive thing. But, you know, there's, I guess, the Section 31 is really big because that's about how plans are built to be for the individual. And I know that you're not the NDIS minister.
No. So but I'm happy to talk about it. From my perspective, that's fine.
Yeah, lovely. That has been sort of characterised or described as ripping the heart out of the NDIS. That's about, you know, taking away that individual consideration, like what's your life, what's your goals, what's your particular circumstance that you need, you know, support with to live your best life, to thrive. And that's gone out of this bill, completely gone. And you know, words like choice and control, they're gone. And reasonable and necessary, that's gone. And you know, I think knowing this, I don't think it's a hysterical reaction from people with disabilities to go, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that these changes and the changes that are going to happen over the next few years, because the impact of the bill won't happen until 2028, but over these next few years are going to be really hard for people with a disability. Yeah. And I think this process that we're going through it's awful.
It is.
We have been going through change constantly, and change for our community is incredibly hard, distressing, and you know, it's unfair.
Yeah.
So I want to say that first because I think we need to acknowledge that there's a lot of stress out there. And as an MP, I don't want to hide from that or anything like that. It is stressful.
Yeah.
I feel stressed about it.
Yeah.
So, and the second thing I want to say is the NDIS has changed lives for the better.
Yeah.
Overall.
100%.
I will always be the MP that champions the NDIS. There is no world in which I see a better way of doing things for people with a disability than the NDIS. And I saw it was what happened before the NDIS.
Yeah.
So the NDIS has been life-changing. And it's vital and we need it. Having said that, I think we all know in our hearts there are many parts of the NDIS that are not working and are not working for many people with a disability, with very significant disabilities, in in many parts of Australia. And I come from the premise that I sat on the Thriving Kids inquiry, and I know, having engaged with disability orgs and community over years and years and years, there are a lot of people in regional and rural areas, in remote communities, who can have the biggest package on earth and they cannot get services or support.
Oh, yeah.
There are market failures everywhere.
Then markets are definitely a stress.
It is a huge, huge problem. And for me, as a woman, a privileged woman with a disability, I'm an above-knee amputee, I live in the city, I'm close to a prosthetist, I'm close to a hospital, I, have the means to fight. I have the health literacy. I have the means to fight for my needs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you cannot, and no one can say that people, even a couple of hours drive out of Brisbane, have the same.
Yeah.
And it's totally unacceptable. And there are kids who are on waiting lists to get diagnosis for autism for years, missing out on early intervention. There are people in Indigenous communities who no longer get the support. There's no provider of last resort in our states because the states all backed out. So we have travelling prosthetists, we have travelling OTs, we have travelling for people in aged care, but they won't touch anyone with a disability because they're in the NDIS scheme. They go, even though we're in this town, we can't help you.
Yeah.
The way, and I'm sad about it. I'm really sad about it. Like I can't say I'm all right. I'm in the city. I get access to my stuff. I cannot say I'm okay. I want the system to stay the same.
Oh, 100%. I don't think anyone would disagree with you. I mean, we all know that there's got to be change.
So there's this massive structural change that's needed, right? And it is a big, massive piece of structural change. And we have to get the states back involved. Like we absolutely, and that is where I fear the most. Like I really fear this. We have to get them back involved. We can't ignore the people with a disability who live even in Toowoomba and can't get nursing care. Yeah. Like even in, there's so much market failure out there that we have to get the states back involved. We have to have a baseline service, a provider of last resort. So that scares me a lot.
I think you're very right. And foundational supports, as we call them, call them whatever, but the disability supports for people who are not on the NDIS, because despite what media says, it's actually not easy to get on the NDIS.
Yeah, no.
And so there's been a lot of people who've missed out because, as you say, the states packed up their kit bag.
Yeah, but also the NDIS became the only avenue. Everything else was, and it hasn't worked. Yeah. It just hasn't worked. And I guess we're having to, one, get the states back involved. Yeah. And there's no choice about that. I've had lots of people argue with me about this, about that, it's taking away the choice and control. And I say, but there's people out there who have no choice, nothing. And they want to stay in their communities. Yeah. Like we need this. And they need this. So we have to have that back in the system. But there's a lot of distortions in the system that I think weren't anticipated. And I think we went into the NDIS with great hope, and I think but there's been things that have occurred that I think have really distorted the market a lot, and we do need a big change. So I do come at it as we need this change, and I think that this change is going to be incredibly hard. But then I also am really clear about the fact that this is never going to be a set and forget. I think that over the next few years, we're going to see there's going to need to be tweaks. There's going to need to be change. We're going to be, and I think we need to be prepared as a community to say it hasn't been working for everybody and we need this change. But at the same time, as a government, as this is flowing through, we have to be nimble and we have to listen to the disability community.
Yes.
And we have to be able to say, okay, well,
nothing about us without us.
We thought that this was going to work this way, but actually it's not working out that way. So we're going to have to change some things.
Yeah.
So I say, you know, I think that we want this system to be, I personally, of course, want the NDIS to be Medicare, to be, you know, it is our lifeline and it is something that I will champion forever and the Labor Party will. But
can I? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you go. Yeah, you go. Sorry, I'm ranting now. Yeah.
No, that's fine. We all feel a bit ranty about this subject. Do you think, you know, given everything that we've talked about so far today, that actually the solution is to talk to the disabled people? Because when people talk to us and they involve us and not just in a consultation, hey, we're going to tell you how it is, but actually say, look, these are the problems. We know what the problems are.
Yeah.
I've had a change of circumstance sitting there for, 2 years or something. Anyway, so, you know, so we know what the problems are. But we're also really good at thinking up solutions. Yeah. And our solutions tend not to be the most costly or, you know, the most burdensome. So if only co-design, real co-design was actually and I think engaged in.
No, and I agree with you. I think, though, there's a misconception that we have had, we have had so many reviews. I mean, even in the past year since I've been an MP, but prior to that, the NDIS review, I have personally sat in front of many, many people giving individual stories, but also all of the peak bodies. And I actually think a scheme as big as this and a scheme that and there is a government there's 18 peak bodies. Yeah. There are all disability they meet with government quarterly. They are we're currently in the review of the legislation phase, which has been extended. We had prior to that a Senate inquiry. We have all of the information. There is so much. I accept. I'm not saying that that's the end of the story.
No,
but we have a lot.
Yep.
And I like we can keep talking about this, but at the same time, we also need to change things. So I think what I'm trying to say is, I think that we're going to go through this change, and the peak bodies, the 18 peaks, they're engaged all the time, on all bits of the legislation. That there is people who have the idea that we're not engaging constantly. We've been through a process where we have taken into account a lot of individual stories, and people can give their individual views, and that has been happening. Well, for the whole year that I have been an MP, and then prior to that, we had lots of reviews. I think you have to get to the place where you go, actually, we need to do something, and then we need to keep talking, and we need to be able to be nimble and make change where we see that there's an issue.
For sure, but when the government's own advisory council puts in a submission and says this is going to do harm, this bill, something went off the rails.
Well, I think that through the peaks and through the reviews, I think that we have had many, many different opinions, and I think that sorry, I'm not the minister, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But I do feel this is a government that is willing to listen. And I think that we need to give some change a go. We have to, as a community, we have to say that it's not working the way it should. We have to have registered providers. That's another issue that I really feel strongly about. I understand that there's there are issues in the registration process itself.
Yeah.
So if there's providers out there, I hear you. I know that. But also, I think in the assessment process, we all have had issues with the assessment process. And, I'll tell you my story. I've had a wheelchair for 13 years. It finally broke down. I loved it. I had to get a new wheelchair. I was told I'm a very high above knee amputee. I'm always going to need a wheelchair. I was told I had to go and get an OT's report to prove that I needed a wheelchair.
Yep.
And the OT's report cost about $4,500. And then I was told it would take 6 to 12 months to get. These stories are so abundant.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and we need to really, to say that navigating the NDIS is easy. It is not.
No.
And for people who don't have health literacy, especially for kids, but also adults, So I think without, I'm not the minister, without going into all of the smaller details.
For sure.
I feel confident that that this government it takes a lot of input from MPs. I mean, I feed back so much into ministers' offices, and I see that as my job.
Yeah.
I do a lot of follow-up work on that, and I think it's going to be an evolving process.
Yeah.
And I think that we just, as a disability community, we need to keep feeding back and stay,
Absolutely.
Whether you agree or disagree with the changes that are coming, we need to stay focused on, trying to make the system the best system it can be.
I think we can all agree on that. Absolutely. I think there's no one that would think that we don't need things changed.
Yeah.
It's just the incredible haste in which this is happening, especially when we don't have all the states on board and we don't really have, other things to go to and, there's just so much uncertainty. Yeah. So I think, it's so totally understandable.
And I acknowledge that.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. And you know what? We've covered off a few questions in this chat, so that's great. Okay. So this is another question from the community. If you could only achieve 5 top priorities during your time as an elected representative, what do you hope the legacy achievements would be?
My biggest one is to increase the bulk billing rate in Moreton Bay.
Yes.
And in Dickson in particular.
100%.
When I was elected, we had one of the lowest rates of bulk billing across the country. Mm-hmm. It's horrendous.
And one of the highest rates of disability per head of population.
It's just, so when we came, we tripled the bulk billing incentive and that still didn't, push things up, although there were more people getting bulk billed, but not enough to make a huge difference. So then we now have an incentive for whole practices to go bulk billed.
Yeah.
So when I got elected, our rate of bulk billing in Dickson was 11%.
Yeah. Wow.
11%.
That's horrific.
It is terrible.
Yeah.
We're now at 18 or 19%.
Well done.
But that for me is still.
Oh, yeah.
It's still.
No.
We have to. I honestly, that's what keeps me up at night, that people are still having to pay a lot to go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me up at night.
Absolutely.
So if I can get that rate up to, say, this is being ambitious, 40 or 50%. A lot of you look around the country, lots of other electorates are 70, 80%.
Yeah.
And I've recently held a GP roundtable with the Minister, Mark butler to go through the issues of why this is the case in Dickson.
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of different issues that we talked through, but I'm really wanting to get to the bottom of it. Like it's really important for our community to have that first access point. The second thing is mental health.
Yes.
So I made a commitment at the election to deliver, and I really love the Medicare mental health centres. Having a walk-in when you need it service for people who are in mental health crisis or, need mental health support it's been missing for such a long time.
Yeah, that's such an important thing.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So we've opened one in Strathpine. I'm hopeful for another one in our community.
Fantastic.
But getting people the mental health support when they need it is really important to me. Getting mental health support for myself when I needed it got me to where I am. There's more.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to see. We'll see all the NDIS changes are happening in 2028. But if I'm re-elected, I want to see an NDIS that not only provides, a really wholesome life for people with a disability, with choice, and I really want it to be more responsive, but also to have a real focus on employment. And if people have that desire, for that to be a focus in the NDIS. So we're going to go through this really hard couple of years, and maybe I will be elected, maybe I won't. But, the changes will come in 2028 and I'd like to see a smoother running, more responsive, but also truly meaningful delivery of supports for people with a disability. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Cool. You definitely have great ambitions there, but I think, the Medicare and the mental health focus, so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And I think one more question for you, the last one. Okay. What is your hope for the future for people with disabilities in this country?
That we are supported to we have the right to prosper. We have, we're supported to be able to just live a full life and live the life that able-bodied people take for granted every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just, I think we have to be so much more resilient, so much more hardened, so much more. We have to work harder than anybody else to just have a basic life. And it's, we shouldn't have to work that hard to have a basic life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, absolutely. So
we don't want to be begging for the basics.
No.
That's what I hope. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a hill to climb in terms of bias and in terms of, just perception in the community. It's still so pervasive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you so very much
You're very
for your
welcome.
time, Ailey France.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, will you be back?
Of course I will be.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Loved it. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Can you hear me? Does everybody hear me?